Right, I'm Richard Taylor, and a general election has been called, so we in Cambridge, just like everyone around the country, have got to decide who we want to send to Parliament to represent us and what we want them to do when they get there. Now, I think the affordability of housing in Cambridge has to be right up there at the top of any new MP's list of things to tackle. In Cambridge we've got a real problem, and we've got people spending far too much of their life living in shared housing, for example. We need to make it affordable for people to find appropriate places to live, because where you live really affects what you can do with the rest of your life. It affects whether you can have a family, it affects your performance at work, and it just affects your happiness. So we really need to tackle that. I want an MP who will tackle the fundamentals, who will tackle the price of houses and flats as a multiple of people's incomes. I think we need to focus on that and not at the tinkering around the edges as we do with so many schemes which are intended to tackle our housing problems. We also can improve the supply of housing if we improve transport in Cambridge, expanding the area and expanding the number of houses available within the area where it is pleasant and affordable and practical to commute into work in the city. I also think we need to reduce the amount of taxation and regulation on developers of new homes. I don't think it's right that we tax those who want to develop new homes, new housing estates so severely. I think we as a country should be putting in the infrastructure, we should be putting in the schools and the roads to enable development to take place. At the moment we're taxing the developers, asking them to pay for infrastructure and asking them to pay even contributions to things like public art and green spaces in the city. We're asking them essentially to pay bribes in order to be allowed to develop. We need to turn that around. We need to make it much easier to build new homes, and I think that's the way that we tackle the underlying supply and demand issue. I want an MP who focuses relentlessly on education, and I certainly wanted to elect an MP who wants to remove undergraduate tuition fees so that we've got education which is free at the point of use, university education for those who are likely to benefit from it. What we can't do though is have an increase in the number of people who are going to university if we don't also improve our schools. So improving education has to start right from primary school and before, and we need to ensure that the UK has the best education system in the world so that we have a functional economy in the future, so that we can compete in the world's knowledge economy, and so that we can we have something to offer the rest of the world. When it comes to improving schools, I think transparency is vital. We need to all be able to see what's going on in our local schools. And schools need to benefit from residents and businesses who can help them in what they're doing. And transparency is a hammer that I would wield throughout the public sector. I'd wield it in the NHS so that we can see what's going wrong in our hospitals and care services and our doctors' surgeries. And I'd wield it in the courts as well, so that we can see how our justice system is performing, and so that we can all make informed suggestions and put informed ideas to our elected representatives about how to make our criminal justice and rehabilitation systems work. I think it's really important that we empower our local councillors. I think we've got to send someone to Parliament in Cambridge to say that we've been left with a complete mess here now with the city deal, the combined authority, City Council and the County Council. We've got to simplify things. I think we need one council for Greater Cambridge, and we need to empower our local councillors. So we need to make sure that their decisions are not being overruled constantly by central government. I also think that we need to look at council tax. So council tax is currently, there are proposals to raise it in order to pay for social care. So social care improvements are what we need to help get people who can be out of the hospital, who can be discharged from hospital, to free up space in Addenbrooke's. I think it's not right to fund that by increasing council tax, because council tax isn't a particularly fair tax. It's not a particularly progressive tax. people who are hit by council tax increases can't necessarily afford to pay if they are, for example, poorer and on fixed incomes. So we need to have proper funding for local councils, particularly the local council care services, coming from national government, coming from and primarily tax from national taxation is from people's hard work. It is income taxes, it is national insurance. But those are fairer taxes than things like council tax, and actually fairer than VAT. So I think we need to rejig how we're funding and organising local government. I think it's really important in our society to make it easy or as easy as we can to start or restart a life. So I'm really keen to improve and open up access to professions, and actually that's something which I think has improved a lot over the last 20 years through the openness and transparency that the internet has given us. It's now possible to find out a lot more information about what's required and about how to apply, but we've still got serious problems with the amount of weight that goes on to things like who you know and whether you're able to afford to spend a long time doing unpaid work before you can get into many professions. So there's a lot of work to do in terms of really tackling the fundamental inequalities of our society there, where if you've got a good background, a good education, you and your parents know people, it's easy to get into professional careers, whereas it can be very hard otherwise. Now, I think it's important when we're talking about how we want to improve our society to appreciate that there's an awful lot that's very good with the United Kingdom at the moment. We've got our supermarkets are full of food, the lights are on, the electricity system is working, it's relatively peaceful and safe. But we've got to elect someone to Parliament who appreciates that actually a lot of that is relatively fragile, and we really need to maintain the security of our country, and we need to be prepared for challenges which come ahead, be it in the health service or with our electricity grid. Really, those are things which people don't think about too much. But when it comes to electing a representative, one thing that we're doing is we're electing someone to think about those things on our behalf. So essentially the security of our national infrastructure, making sure that the banking system works, the electricity system works, the gas system works, making sure that all these things happen, making sure there's always food on the shelves, is crucial for MPs to be thinking about in the short term, making sure we've got the emergency planning facilities in place, but also in the longer term, making sure that our country, our economy and our infrastructure is set up to support us for decades and centuries to come. So we've got some important decisions ahead of us in the next couple of weeks. Those decisions have been rather thrown on us as a surprise, but we need to carefully consider who Cambridge is going to send to Parliament to represent us. Whoever they are, they're going to have a very important job to do running our country.